It's 4:45 in the morning, and I'm sitting here with my coffee in my pajamas, ready for some PJ talk. This morning, I'm thinking about communication and how sometimes we get it right and lots of times we get it wrong. For instance, I used to wonder who Jose was. You know Jose. He's the guy who we ask every time we sing the national anthem if he can see by the dawn's early light. I used to wonder who in the heck was Jose and why was he so important that he was in the national anthem. I think about Jose all through grammar school. And then finally, one day I saw the lyrics of the song and I realized that Jose wasn't really a matter of importance. He was simply Jose. I was amused and embarrassed at the same time. How could I get it wrong? That happened a lot to me with songs. For instance, Here We Come a Waltzing Among the Leaves of Green. I thought it was a Christmas dancing song, and that when you sang it, you were supposed to waltz. Well, when I saw the words wassailing, I said, wassailing? What the heck is wassailing? I liked it better as a dancing song. And I sure didn't get why Queen sang about kicking a cat all over the place and We Will Rock You. You know, it's one of the reasons I didn't like rock music, because I thought it's so full of violence. I mean, why in the world would a group who calls themselves a queen want to spread terror in the world by talking about kicking a cat all over the place? It just seemed cruel to me. And my favorite, Creedence Clearwater. Why in the world would anybody want to sing a song telling people where the bathroom was? There's a bathroom on the right. I used to drive a bus with a bunch of teenagers from Glen Oak School, and I would sing that song loud and clear along with the rest of the kids. There's a bathroom on the right. And I think there was a couple of people singing it with me. So it wasn't just me that was getting it wrong. How many times do we think we have it right? We hear something, sing about it, talk about it, blab about it. And then one day, we get the startling surprise that we're mistaken and simply heard it wrong. I used to play a game in church, where you sit in the lawn and you're giving a statement and you whisper it into the ear of the person next to you, and it goes and goes and goes all the way down the line. And at the end of the line, the person at the end of the line has to tell you what the statement is. And it ain't never the same thing. It's always embellished, exaggerated, things are added to it, things are taken from it. It's always mistold. It's funny and informative. It's a good game to play. It's a good lesson to learn. Because no matter what you say, no matter how many times you tell it, it is never going to be told the same way twice. And if you're saying a simple statement like, I'm taking my child to the grocery store to buy a chicken, before the day's over with, you're going to be guilty of being taken to jail for giving your child too many lickings. Sometimes people just don't hear what we say. Communication ain't just the act of listening and being able to relay your thoughts, your feelings, your views. It's got a lot to do with simply getting it right. I know people who are famous for hearing what they want to hear and gifted for putting words in somebody's mouth. You can tell them over and over again, but once they get the thought in their head, once they hear the insult, the dare, the threat that they think you're hurling at them, they take it and run with it. And before you know it, they're throwing so many offensive and hurtful things back to you. You got a full-blown massacre on your hands and an argument that won't quit and can't be solved. So you may as well just forget it. You may as well shut up, walk away, blood pressure's going up, you're going to have a stroke, you're going to have a heart attack, or you're going to be killed. So you may as well just give it up. It's that way with people. People, when they talk, chit chat, chew the fat, sit down, let's have a little, chill. We don't mean to spread rumors or say things that are maligning somebody's character. But at the same time, we can get the story wrong. And before you know what's happening, you're starting to create a full-blown scandal. And when fingers start to pointing to you or to whoever, you look around and you say, oh, I don't get people. Why do people want to cause so much trouble? One of the most important things in any relationship is communication. Husbands need to listen to their wives, and wives need to be sure they hear and understand what their mate is saying. In matters of the heart, in what happened at work, what happened at church, what happened when you talked to the neighbor, when you were bringing the trash out. I remember being in marriage counseling and speaking my mind before the ears of a counselor who could verify what I was saying and try to interpret it to my stubborn, thick-skulled husband. But no matter what, he never heard what I was saying, and he always felt like we were ganging up on him. Well, that didn't work. We were in marriage counseling for 2 weeks, and then he quit, and then it wasn't counseling anymore, called marriage counseling, which is called counseling, because I was the only one left. I also recall a time when my sisters were squabbling. They couldn't get along for nothing, and I was stuck in the middle. So I thought, I can't be a mediator because I don't know what I'm doing, so I actually paid for a mediator to act as a mediation between me and my sisters. Well, once we got in there, one thing led to another, and before we know it, there was yelling and screaming and hollering, and nobody was listening to nobody. They were just accusing and yelling and screaming and saying horrible things. And the counselor who was trying to take notes closed her book, raised her hands, and said, "Please, you people, y'all don't belong together. Y'all don't get along. Y'all are toxic to each other, and y'all should just stay away from each other. We're family." And she's telling us to stay away from each other. I lived in my sister's backyard. My other sister lived about 5 blocks away from me. How could we stay out of each other's lives? We couldn't. It took me a while to figure it out, and I was determined to fix the problem where I was concerned, at least, and with communication. So I learned a very valuable thing. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Repeat what I'm saying, and repeat what is being said to me, making sure that I'm clear and certain on what's being said, and they're clear and certain on what I'm saying. That didn't work. So I learned to tape record conversations so that I could play it back, prove what I was saying. That didn't work. I just broke a lot of tape recorders. Just got tape recorders broken and thrown across the room. Tapes pulled out and thrown everywhere. Nah, that didn't work. That didn't work. Sometimes we just don't hear what's being said, and we only hear what we want to say. This creates a lot of trouble in the arena of life, especially in cyberspace. In the world of messaging and texting. When you message on Facebook, Skype, Yahoo, MSN, and the like, you write things down, and people often misinterpret what you're saying, and you're accused of being sassy, a smart aleck, vicious, cruel, and really you're not. Sometimes people can't hear your words, they can't hear your voice, they can't identify with your intent or your emotion in what you're saying. And often I've been invited or encouraged to speak my mind and tell people something about how I honestly feel about their situation. They say, "Oh, it'll be helpful. Please help me. Please just tell me what you think. Please be honest." And when I do, it always gets me in trouble. Well, it mostly gets me in trouble. Some people actually accept it, but then they turn around and complain about it. Which brings me to the conclusion that people often, even if they say they want it, they really don't want to hear what you have to say, or they don't want you to tell them the truth, or what you feel, or how you believe. They just want you to stroke their egos and tell them what they want to hear. I'm not talking about everybody. There are some people who actually want to learn, and they actually want your advice. But it often leads to misunderstandings, and the person that you're talking to takes it as an attack, and then they launch an attack against you or a campaign against you, and suddenly you're the bad guy, and people are wondering how in the world you could say such a terrible thing. It's awful how words can be read or heard and become so scrambled, so discombobulated, that you have to pull out a transcript of what you said, or feel like you have to record all conversations just to prove it. In many cases, not even the transcripts or the recordings benefit. Like I said before, they can get you in trouble. Some people will hear what they want to hear and believe what they want to believe. And many people are so hungry for juicy stories full of gooey, gumdroppy, gossipy goodness and scandalous specifics. They don't care or are bothered by little things like the truth and honesty and intent. They just want to hear the story. They just want to get the goods. So what's the secret on communicating and expressing yourself, being able to speak your mind without being misinterpreted or misunderstood and causing disgraceful chatter? Is there a way to keep things honest, honorable, and dodge the bullet of being misunderstood? Nah, sorry. There isn't. I can only tell you that when engaging in a conversation, make sure you listen. And if you hear something that's unclear or that surprises you, don't repeat it. Don't repeat it. Don't go around and talk to people about it. The only way you should repeat it is to the person who's telling you, so that you can clarify that you're hearing what they're saying. But if you don't really know that it's true, and you only hear it from one person, don't repeat it, because it'll get you in trouble. And, you shouldn't repeat things, because it creates a horrible, horrible, horrible gossip. Who am I to talk? Because I'm the biggest blabbermouth on the planet. And even though my circle of friends is small, I've only got like 2 or 3 people that I feel like I can trust and talk about anything. Sometimes the story gets out, and other people in their small circles are told, and before you know it, the circle becomes one great big thing. So what's my solution for the communication dilemma? I don't really have one. I only have a few words of advice. Number 1, never be afraid to speak your mind. Never be afraid to use your voice. Never be afraid to tell your truth or to stand up for yourself. This is your given right, and I think more trouble comes from us being quiet and not saying anything and letting the pressure build and build and build and build, and then finally you erupt and you blow up and you say and do things that you wish you would have never did. So speak your mind. If somebody attacks you, defend yourself. If somebody gives you a story about somebody or something that you don't know about, ask a question. Repeat it. Don't repeat it back to them. Don't take it as fact. We're not responsible for what others do, how they react, how they interpret, how they blab, how they misunderstand, how they put words in our mouths, how they turn us into the bad guy. We're only responsible for ourselves. So take care of you, and remember that words are powerful. They can build up, they can break down, they can create, they can destroy. They are born in our minds and delivered with our mouths. And many, 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 many times our mouths will get us into trouble. Final words? You're in charge of you and you alone. You can't beat the truth out of anybody, so don't even try. You can't make them believe you, you can't make them receive you, and you can't make them take back what they said about you. You have a voice, an opinion, thoughts, and ideas that matter. Don't be afraid to use it. If others misunderstand, misinterpret, or insist on making you out to be the bad guy, let them. Just stand tall on the rock of what you know is true. And keep your head up high, honey. Because you are the only person that you can take care of.